Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Showtime Satch, and today we are here with another Satchmoe chess content. And today, the title of this video is going to be, Satchmoe's pawn push game, or something of that nature. And in this game, you're going to find out why. So, without further ado, we'll go ahead and get right into the video. In this game, my opponent was Burhan BVK. I believe that's from Turkey. And me, Satchmoe Life, currently rated 1696 now. That is a little bit lower than what I have in my previous videos. I did reach out at 1785 maybe 2 weeks ago. But, this is chess. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You get on a bad right, you go down. I think as of the recording, I'm rated about 1710. So, these things fluctuate. And as you see, already played on the board e4. When I have the white pieces, I would 95% of the time I play e4. So, best by test. And my opponent responds e5, very principled. Knight f3, as you guys know if you've seen any of my videos, I'm a big fan of the Ruy Lopez. So I'm expecting my opponent to play knight c6, but instead we get d6. This is the Philidor's defense. Not something you really quite see once you get up to, higher levels, but, at the 1700 rating, it's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine opening. It's just, a little passive, but that's okay. We play d4, which is the best move. When you go into Philidor, you want to open it up right away and challenge that pawn. And we go ahead and go for the exchange variation. So right here, very all stuck to the book. Knight f6 and knight c3, just developing the knights. We get bishop e7, preparing to castle, and bishop c4. And now this, and now castles. So this is the ending of the book moves here. My knowledge of the Philidor isn't quite as good as my other openings, so I don't play it as much, but we get about 6 moves in, and immediately, the computer says, hey, this is a mistake, knight f5. Now, what's the idea of knight f5? Obviously, I saw this threat, and when I say it's a mistake, this gives black a half a pawn advantage, so it's nothing too crazy, but they don't like the fact of what does happen in the game, so we'll go ahead and show it. Bishop captures f5, and now pawn captures f5, and now it says black slightly better. It likes this open file on my king. However, I'm going to castle very soon, so it's not quite the opening, but also doesn't like these doubled f pawns. But as you'll see later in this game, these doubled f pawns actually do become quite useful in my attack. So we'll go ahead and show off the next move. So he gets rook e8, preparing. There's really nothing here that he can do to, this bishop's completely blocked in, so there's no real discoveries here, but, just good move generally. Go ahead and castle. Now we have a same side castling game, which typically is a little bit more tame. You get a little more positional battle, but look, I don't play like that. If you watch my games, I like to die by the sword. So we get fairly aggressive fairly early on, and knight c6. Computer wasn't a big fan. It really wants you to push these pawns because this bishop is really disgusting. It has nothing it can do. It is essentially a pawn here. You could argue a pawn would be better because it can't even move forward. It's got nowhere to go. So the right idea here would have been c3 followed by d5, pushing my bishop away, getting rid of its scope because with that trade my opponent made, it was the right move. However, now I have unopposed light square bishop. So, this pawn is currently pinned, and if this one gets captured, I don't, when I made that trade, I expected to lose this pawn, but I would have a nice open scope for my bishop. So, these are all things you got to worry about. So knight c6, slight inaccuracy here. Now the game is back to equal. King h1. King h1 prepares a plan, and that plan is going to be coming up very soon. But it opens up this g file so that my rook can come over, and these pawns could eventually move down the board. Like I said, I want to be aggressive. So king h1, solid move. We get knight e5. So my opponent now continuing with his plan of shifting his knight. So he had a little bit of an idea there. When he initially played the knight, he didn't want to keep it on c6. He wanted to get it to e5, and it's a pretty nice square. It's somewhat of an outpost, but that is what it is. So it attacks my bishop. Drop the light square bishop back. Obviously, I do not want to trade that very strong bishop. And we get queen d7. Queen d7 is a bit of a slow move. Computer doesn't like it. It wants you to defend this g7 square and open up the rook, because right now, the rook's kind of staring into the bishop, and the bishop's staring into the pawn. So not a great setup here. Queen d7, though, does have some ideas of, mobilizing his queen. So not a horrible move, but this allows me to start my initiative. And this is the reason why we're going to call this the pawn push game, because now we have f4. f4 is a great move by the computer. Very simple idea to start. You attack the knight. Okay, knight's got to move. Knight moves eg4. And this is the best move in this, but however, it gives me a bit of an opportunity to do what I like to do best, and that's be aggressive. Typically, you don't want to push the pawns in from your king. However, my opponent's development is severely lacking, so I don't think he'll be able to take advantage of it. And so we go h3. h3, another great move. And that's why I consider this the pawn push game, because all of these pawn pushes were great moves. It wasn't just me throwing out my pawns. This is actually what the computer recommends, and it's what we played. So h3 kicks the bishop, the knight back. And you got to look at this. Knight has nowhere to go. Knight goes h6. g4. g4 now threatens g5. That's going to win a piece. So, and what do you do if you're white? You can't, there's really nowhere to move this knight. You're going to have to, you're going to have to come up with something now. My king is wide open, so this queen check is very possible, which gets played. However, this is a mistake in itself. It had some ideas here for me. It wanted me to block this with the rook. However, I decided not to. We go king h2. Computer does, like I said, it wants to block with the rook here on f3, but typically you don't want to get your pieces pinned for no reason, so I avoided that. We'll go king h2. And now knight e4. Knight e4 attacks this knight here, so potentially trying to win a pawn back. And also it allows for this knight to, if I were to push this pawn, it opens up the f5 square. So now this is not a, just flat out winning the knight. However, we have some other moves we can play here. Knight captures. I didn't like that. The reason why this is a bad move is because this just instantly wins a piece. We did not find bishop d5. I saw bishop d5. However, during the game, for some reason, I didn't want to go towards it. I thought it, I was thinking there was some type of discoveries where he could sacrifice his queen or something another there, and we just didn't play it. So bishop d5 did not get played. Instead, we just trade off. Queen takes e4 and a rook e1. So attacking the queen, also putting pressure on this bishop. This is just a line that I liked personally. I thought it gave me a bit more chances. However, there were some things I missed. The computer's always right in the end. So rook e1 gets played. Queen b4 now, threatening this rook. So if I were to move my queen, it would be up for capture. But we simply played bishop d2. Pawn c3 slightly more accurate here, but in my opinion, I like this move better just as a hewing because it opens up this bishop. And I get my rooks all laid out here, so that's very nice. He goes queen b6, and this continues with my plan. I go bishop c3. Bishop c3 now gets me nice scope. These bishops are monsters. However, it does maybe allow for a bit too much play here for black. Rook queen f2. Now I saw this. I expected this. Now apparently this is now a draw. So he could find a way to either keep the material even, or you could find a way to do a continuous check. But I thought after king h1, this is the only move, but I thought I was safe here. I think this is a great position for black or white. However, the computer says it's equal. Okay, maybe it's equal, but we'll see how my opponent continues. Queen g3 now. You can capture right here on f4, but it gets a little nasty. You really don't want to be too materialistic when you're in a position like this. These bishops are just absolute monsters. Now we go queen d3. Queen d3 is a queen trade. Now you might say, Satch, why are you going for a queen trade right now? You are up material in an attacking position. Well, the threat here was queen captures on h3. You can't allow that from black. If queen captures h3, there's just going to be a continuous check here, and it's going to be a draw. And I think that even without my attack, I still think this is just a much better position for white. So queen d3 gets played. And instead of trading, look, you got to know when you're on the defensive. Black right now is not in a position to be, going for pieces here. However, he gets very materialistic, decides to capture the free pawn on f4, and that actually loses the game. Why does that lose the game? Rook e4. Rook e4 threatens his queen, and now it's getting kind of stuck here. It's getting a little cramped. This queen is not happy, and it's just getting put into a bad position. Queen g5 gets played, and we go rook a to e1. We're now doubling up this attack on the bishop with the threat of f6. And what do? How do you stop f6? You can't play f6 yourself because this bishop is being pinned by, or the pawn is pinned by the bishop. So what do? My opponent decides queen h4 is the way. He's once again tying down my queen, so I can't move it. But that doesn't matter to me. f6. f6 gets played, and now your only real option here is to capture. With the pawn, because if you capture the bishop, you're going to lose a rook. So the only play move on the board here, he plays it. G takes f6. However, this now blocks the queen's defense to the bishop, and now we can now win a free piece, and I go ahead and capture out. This is the right way to go. These are the best moves here, just to go ahead and take the free piece. And now my opponent does have 2 pawns for a piece, so it's not a one game by any means, but when you look at black's position here, it is just abysmal. White is actually up 5 when it comes to positionally. So more than enough compensation for those 2 pawns. And the threat here now is, we can capture these pawns. Now, right currently, this knight is defending the f7 square, but things can change very quickly. Rook f8, he brings another defender over to the defense of that pawn. And we go bishop e6. I thought I was really nice with this bishop e6 move. It was really fancy, but it really didn't have much of a threat. I was just trying to trick my opponent. Now, if you just decide to capture the free piece, then you get checkmated in 1. Checkmate on a king h7, or on h7. So that would have been nice, but my opponent, a little bit wiser to my traps, did not play that. Instead, he just goes g5. And now I'm kind of like, okay, well, the same threat is there, so I don't have to move my bishop now, but it's just, it's just kind of sitting there. It didn't really have much of a plan out there other than just trying to trick him. So now we go d2. Now the threat, we're pinning this queen to the knight, and we can capture that knight if I so choose. Let's see. My opponent goes queen h4. I decide not to capture the knight because there, if I capture it, there's not much there. I think my 2 bishops are better than giving it up. So we go back to bishop c4, and we're just trying to reroute, maneuver my pieces. Once again, like I said, this queen cannot really move anywhere. I'd like to get it more active, but it currently has to stay defending that square, and I can't move my king up because then I lose control of that f2. That'll come with check, and that'll be nasty. And so once again, my opponent just a little bit oblivious to the situation here, just goes like, okay, I'll just capture this free pawn. However, we get bishop e1 now, threatening this queen. Now the queen has to stay pinning this pawn, or else it would lose the knight. So queen h6, best move here, or is a solid move for black. He plays it well. And now we get g3. G3 now pins this knight to the king, and now it's free to capture. So he plays f5. Pretty solid move there, getting the defense of the knight here, but now it opens up this great diagonal. You could play a move like getting this king off the square with preferably king g1, and then the knight's gonna be lost. But instead we go bishop c3, just trying to continue with the attack here. This white king is just under a lot of pressure now, so I decided to slow play it. Queen c1, going for trying to capture some more pawns over here with the check. So we just say king, all right, you know what, he can take it. You can even capture this with check if you like. I personally don't mind. So go right ahead. It gets the reason I decided to capture that and not bring my rook down immediately is that now this queen is now kind of blocked in by its own pawn. Where it was on that black diagonal, it can move back and forth pretty freely. However, now he goes for queen c2. Now we get rook e2. Queen has to move, and it can't really move back. So you have to, so he decides to sacrifice. Because the idea here is that you're just going to lose the game. If you decide to just move your queen anywhere, let's say moves it back to the second rank, you can get a move like, bishop captures. You have a lot of ideas here. So my opponent just decides to go ahead and trade off his queen. He's like, all right, this is what I got to do here. I'm now down a queen, but he does have a lot of compensation in pawns. He's currently up 4 pawns, but that's not going to be enough in a game like this. So this knight's getting lost. We go ahead and capture the knight. Now, this game is basically over. However, it is a nice finish here. It actually goes on for 15 moves here, so I'll try and move quickly. Queen h4, now threatening checkmate on h8. My opponent blocks it with f6. Very nice move. Bishop check, however, king is forced to move up. Once again, we'd like to get a mate here on f6, but the rook is defending it. So we just play king g3, bring the king to the attack. c6, planning to block off the white bishop scope. We just go ahead and drop back to d3 now, threatening to capture here, and checkmate on h7. d5, he's continuing his plan of pushing his pawns. We capture the free pawn. Rook f7 now, the only move that stops mate there immediately, giving the king a space to run. We go for it anyways. Queen h7, king f8, and now queen h8, e7. And actually, this is a forced mate in 2. However, we do, we take a long way around. You don't always gotta to get them immediately. I believe the checkmate here was just bishop b4. We don't find it. So you go queen c8, now threatening mate. All sorts of mates here are possible. b6, he's holding on. Now we go b4. Now it's a little too late, but we go ahead and sacrifice the bishop here as we get queen c5 check, e8, and now we pin the rook to the queen, or pin the rook to the king. He's still trying to hang on. a5. And now we play queen c7. The rook cannot capture at his pin, and it was in this position that Burhan decided to resign the game. And yeah, so I thought it was a pretty fun game. You know, it was a little one-sided, but I just thought the you know, they always say, you know, when you don't push the pawns in front of your king, and I'm just trying to break that mantra. You know, this is chess. Anything can happen. You don't always got to do what they want you to do. You know, if we look back through this game, I want to check the highlights. So my opponent played at a 77% accuracy. I played at 85%. And they actually gave him a game rating of 1700, so slightly above his level. But I played at a 2150 rating, so pretty strong game there from me. You know, we only had one blunder the whole game, very strong, but in the end, it was white who was able to decimate the black pieces through good positional play and, you know, some great pawn pushes. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like, subscribe. I do have chess content that drops about every other Saturday. So I have a playlist. You can add me on Discord, and I can you can join the Discord below. Without further ado, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.